Hi, it's AJ here from Two Manx, One Mic. Today's show is sponsored by NatureCan. NatureCan is a global wellness brand founded in Stockport in 2019 by business partners Paul Finnegan and Andy Duckworth. Andy was the ex-CEO of MyProtein.com for a number of years and was instrumental in shaping the business that it is today. NatureCan offers premium hemp-derived CBD products as well as vitamins and supplements. The brand's goal is to help people lead happier and healthier lives. Check them out today at naturecan.com. Christian, nice to meet you again. Nice to meet you. We spoke briefly on the phone. What was it, sort of mid-January time, wasn't it?
It was,
just to get to know each other, and obviously it was the guys at NatureCan that sort of put me in touch with yourself. So the reason I think why we wanted to get you on board with us and have a chat, because your Instagram, how is it now in your bio? What does it say?
Drug runner to ultra runner.
Yeah, okay, so we'll go into that a little bit later on, but that's quite a catchy title. You've got a few thousand sort of followers as well, haven't you? I suppose we'll just go back to the start then, where you're from, home life, etc. And how did you get into your teens? What happened there?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Chester, from Blaken, and then lived there for like 7 years of my life. Yeah. And then my dad, he was involved in the horse racing industry.
Right.
So we moved down to Newmarket in Suffolk for work for him. So moved onto a horse yard, lived there for a couple of months or so. Yeah, it was brilliant. And then got his own place. So just grew up around Newmarket. It's dead rural, not a lot to do unless you're in the horse racing industry. Yeah. Which as a teenager,
not really for you.
Not really, no. I mean, I was into like BMXing and skateboarding, and we had like a semi-decent skate park, when year 2000, where everyone was in baggy jeans. Yeah, Heaven as a Half Pipe had just come out, so everyone. And so now I was doing that for most of my teens. But other than that, there wasn't a lot to do. So bored teenagers.
So you're there for 2 months in that sort of setting where you
in the horse yard. Yeah, in the horse yard. But I lived there from the age of about 8 to in Newmarket from about 8 to I was probably about 19, 20. Right. Okay. When I moved back to Chester.
Yeah. So quite a big time in your life, wasn't it?
Yeah,
big time. So, brought up with mum and dad.
Yeah. Mum and dad was together till I was about 16.
Right, okay.
I moved out when I was about 16, 17. I moved in with my girlfriend at the time. Well, moved in with her parents, I should say. Yeah.
Brothers, sisters?
Yeah. A half brother and half sister from my dad's previous relationship. And then my full brother and sister as well, they're younger. Perfect. So I'm Malcolm in the middle. Yeah.
It's always the middle child that's meant to be the headache, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Just thinking about my sister, she's got 3, and the middle one is definitely the wild child.
Yeah.
So must be a thing, So, you're 32 now. Yeah. As we said just before we sort of turned the camera on. So how long have you been running for then? If we touch on that.
Probably about 3 years now. Yeah. Yeah, it's not been long.
No.
So I got quite unhealthy. I got quite fat at one point, which I've always been dead lean. So for me to get fat is like, what's going on there?
What's fat for you then? What sort of weight were you?
I don't know weight. I think I was about 90 something kilos, which for my frame and that it was quite a lot. I'd never had a double chin before and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's coming through.
It's like and then people in my workplace were saying, "Oh, I'm thinking about doing a half marathon." I'm rubbish at the gym. Yeah, you can't pay me to stay in the gym for much longer. So I was like, I'll do it. I'll see about because if I sign up, I have to do it.
Yeah, it's like a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Set for yourself.
And I barely trained at all. I think I went out for like 6 runs. I went back on my Strava quite recently and thought, how much did I actually train? I think I went for a run like 6 times before the actual race. And
because that holds all the history, doesn't it, of all your runs? Times. I bet the times that you've done were appalling to what you can do now.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, I'd done that half marathon. I think it was in like 2 hours 30 something. Yeah. And then the next year I'd done it after I'd already become addicted to running. Yeah. I'd done it in like 1 hour 30 something, so I knocked an hour off my time. Yeah,
that's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a hell of a lot. Okay, cool. So running's a massive part of your life now, and hopefully not hopefully, but I mean, what I mean is is that something that turned your life around, was it? So obviously you've got a past in terms of like the drug scene, so
Yeah.
if we probably start from you being, what, 18, would you say? Was that when you first started, 18, 19, or was it a little bit younger than that?
I'd say a little bit younger, yeah. I mean, 18 was when I was like, got really into coke.
Yeah.
Like, that's like when I started getting into clubs,
Yeah.
like legally. Like Newmarket, everyone's dead short because they're in the horse racing industry,
Yeah.
so I was getting into like nightclubs when I was 16, 17. So,
No ID checks,
yeah.
nothing like that, no?
No.
Cool.
Only for one, what was it called? Innocent was a
Yeah.
nightclub you could get into if you're underage. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Happy days.
And,
Cool.
and then, so yeah, but before then I was quite into like my pills,
Yeah.
you know, smoking weed and that
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But yeah,
Cool.
no, it's
Yeah, so I mean, I think the reason, you know, while, you know, what we've got you on here for is you were quite big in the drug scene, taking it. You mentioned obviously you had like hallucinations and all fun stuff that we'll get into, and now you're running ultra running, which is, what's ultra running for those that don't know then?
so it's any distance over a marathon.
Right,
So
okay.
it can be usually, like for race wise, it's usually 30 miles is like the shortest
Yeah.
ultra, and it goes up to anything like 250 miles to 300 miles, whatever.
Is that a day?
Not typically, no. So usually, like you have, I think they say that a decent pace for 100 miles is just under 24 hours.
Right,
So
okay.
anything more than 100 miles is typically.
So is that consistent running?
Yeah,
for a 24-hour period?
yeah.
really?
I mean, the aid stations are a lot different to, like, say you're watching London Marathon, they just grab a Lucozade and
Yeah.
go. Aid stations for ultras are, there's a buffet basically.
Really?
Yeah, I think of ultra races as like an eating competition with running in the middle.
Right. Okay.
Because like
Yeah.
I'll be at an aid station, I'll be there for a few minutes. I'll have a sandwich, I'll have
Yeah.
some crisps, I'll have like a glass of Coke or something, and then
Does
I'll
that
carry on.
Does that not sort of affect your running though, if you're running on like a full stomach or?
No, because you're burning so much.
Yeah,
You,
so
you,
you
like
need
you,
it.
you need it. Yeah.
Right, okay. Cool. So let's go back then. So we'll try and get some rhythm here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you started smoking weed. That was how it got into.
Yeah,
That's how you
yeah.
started in the drugs, and that was at what age?
Probably about 14.
14. You still
Yeah.
smoke weed now?
No.
No.
I mean, I've been to Amsterdam recently,
Yeah.
so but that was more of an edible type
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
So.
No, but a bit of fun.
Yeah.
So you're 14. You're smoking weed. What did it transpire into? At what age after that then?
I'd probably say only a year after pills came into a thing. Like
Yeah.
Skins had just come out on the teen
Yeah.
drama and
Yeah.
everything, and
Yeah.
like there was a new rave scene, which was all like 8-bit synth pianos and all that sort of stuff. It was
Right, okay.
like a mad
Yeah,
music
yeah,
scene
yeah.
which involved a lot of pills. So yeah, I got into that. MDMA had like become a thing. Like
Yeah.
it was like, I think we were like the first lot to have just MDMA. It was always just pills before
Yeah.
that. So that I'm aware of anyway. Obviously,
Okay.
I'm sure it had been a thing before, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was quite new to us at that time. So
Yeah. So it's quite young, isn't it, to be taking that,
yeah,
that
yeah,
level
like
of
it was like
drug,
year
really.
10
Yeah.
in school, So it's like that's when like
So how did that affect your life around that time? Things was you doing okay academically? At home with your mum and
academically,
dad?
yeah, it started to go a bit like year 10, when I should have been concentrating, because that's when you're doing your mock GCSEs
Yeah,
and stuff
exactly, yeah.
like that. Yeah, affected my mental health quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
In what way?
I was hallucinating without the help
Without
of
taking
hallucinogens.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They thought I was schizophrenic. And
Serious?
Yeah. But it was just, they put it down to I was that under that much stress
Yeah.
that my brain was just like, let's project this. Yeah.
This image.
This thing. Yeah. And so yeah.
No way. So mental health wise, is it just hallucinating or was it anxiety? Was it?
Oh, it was mainly depression, but it was
Depression.
like, it was weird depression. It was like manic.
Yeah.
I'd be like really low, like just not wanting to do anything, and I'll just be like up here,
Yeah.
just like high on life.
Without drugs sometimes as well.
Yeah. So
Right,
I
okay.
think it was just like, because obviously as a teenager, your brain's developing.
Yeah, of course.
And
Yeah.
you're adding chemicals and stuff to it. It just messes with the development of
Yeah,
your brain.
yeah.
I think that's what was happening. It was like my brain was like, what on earth is going on,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So.
Okay.
And the
so-
stresses of school
Yeah.
and girlfriends and all that sort of thing, it was just.
Yeah. And what about mum and dad at the time? Did they know what you were taking? As well?
I don't think they did.
No.
And I'm still quite secretive with them about it. I think they knew I was no angel, but
Yeah.
to them, like I never brought drama to the house or anything, apart from one time when I got arrested. But and you know, I'd come home drunk and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I think there was one time when I came home covered in blood. Someone got me in the nose, like, but
Really?
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I never brought drama to the house if I could. You know,
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's nothing
yeah.
worse than anyways. So
it was like a stable household. You know, I wasn't like and I'd risk youth or anything.
So
like
that's
that.
good then, isn't it? You know? So what do you think made you go into that sort of lifestyle and of smoking weed at first, and then going into the other drugs?
I don't know. I think it was just out of my group of friends, I always like being the zany one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I always like being the wild card.
Yeah.
And I often found like.
And do you think that's just it? It was just a case of who introduced you to it then?
There was a couple of people at the skate park.
Yeah.
You know, who'd be smoking, but it was like we had this like green shelter thing, which we'd be skating and there'd be the chavs in there, if you like, you know, smoking weed. But we were always dead sound with them, you know, like there was always a bit of rivalry between like the goth kids and the chavs and that, but because we were like the skaters, we were like we were sound with everyone, you know. So I got to talk to them and stuff, but then.
Cool.
Just
so it's just conversations with people. Have you tried this? Do you want to give this a go? Yeah. For me growing up, I was always a little bit of a shitbag, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because my mum was just straight. It's not even my mum. My grandma was ridiculous. You know, she was like brutal, really. So she always said, if I ever catch you doing this, then life won't be worth living. And it just kind of stuck with me. Since obviously hitting my 20s and everything, that changed because I weren't scared of my grandma at the age. As a young teen, mid-teen, I was very, I don't know, I suppose I just took their advice, which, you know, you don't want your child or grandchild doing those sorts of things.
No, of course not, no.
But on the flip side, you're your own person, you're going to make your decisions irrespective of mum and dad. So, cool, so you started with weed, you've gone into all the other recreational drugs as well.
Yeah.
We'll touch sort of lightly, if that's okay with you, on the drug runner part.
Yeah.
Just, you know, whatever you're sort of comfortable with, Christian. So how did that start and where did it end?
Yeah,
sort of thing, you know?
That started me liking what I was doing and thinking, oh, all right, how can I get my hands on more? Wholesale. And then I signed some friends to begin with. And then it escalated quite dramatically when I turned like sort of 18, getting into clubs and that. And then it escalated quite a bit.
So how long was that?
It was a couple of years. When I was in the club scene, it didn't last long because I met my girlfriend like a year or two after it got quite bad. So, and she wasn't into that scene at all. No. Like she was like straight edge pretty much, apart from the drink. But
is that your current girlfriend now? Right, okay, perfect. So your missus met you while she were in that life. So was you honest with her from day one?
Yeah. I mean, the first time she came around my house, I had a stack of money and a stack of recreational substances on the table. I had to quickly
So interesting life and interesting times. I mean, so when you look back on that now, how do you feel about that? You know, that lifestyle that you had.
I mean, I don't regret it because it's made me the person I am today.
100%.
Do I wish I didn't delve so deep into it? Absolutely. Because it affected my mental health, affected my physical health, you know, and stuff like that. It's like, picture me, I put up on Instagram a while ago, like, I'm just like white, my eyes are like shot, you know, I just look horrendous.
And how old were you at that point?
18.
Cool. I mean, I think 18's a tough age anyway, isn't it? Because you can now legally do all these things that you can't do. You're always fighting for that freedom to get away from your mum and dad, and you're just stuck, aren't you? You need to start earning money. You don't really know what you want to do. There's so many choices in front of you. You feel like everyone else is running away from you. So it is a hard age anyway. So you stopped selling the drugs. How was getting out of that world?
It was difficult. The selling, it wasn't too bad. It was more the doing. Like, it was still a new market. I just left the banking sector, which was, you know, hand in hand comes with drug use. I mean, not every banker's in the toilets, you know, doing lines, but it came part and parcel with my job.
So you were working in the bank. You were also selling?
Oh yeah,
Running drugs at that particular point. So people within the work environment, did they know some of them?
There was one person that knew. Yeah.
And were they buying it from yourself?
No,
as well?
they just knew. You know, they were a bit of a raver as well, and they knew friends of friends, and they were like, oh, I know your game, sort of thing. But so we just sort of kept that sort of working and out of work relationship, you know, separate.
So how was you running like a 9-to-5 job then in a bank whilst you were doing this outside of work? And I take it obviously you were taking drugs as well at the same time. Was it just weekends, or was you doing it in the week? Or?
In the week, yeah. I would often.
Tough, that, isn't it?
Yeah. So often in the morning, I'd be recovering from the night before, or just getting in from the night before. I'd go to work. Lunchtime would happen, and then I'd go to Greg's, grab a sausage roll, go to Spoons, have a pint, go upstairs, get enough, wake up a bit, come back down, have a tequila, go back to work, and then I'd be fine for the rest of the day.
Was you customer facing in the bank?
Yeah.
Did you do better in the morning or better in the afternoon?
Yeah.
So would that have been like a daily occurrence at that particular point?
Every other day I'd say, yeah.
Crazy. I bet you look back now and just think, how was you actually living like that?
Yeah.
You know, how did you cope?
Yeah. Like even now, like if I have an energy drink, I'm feeling like, it's too much, and I'm thinking what I was doing back then. I was like, how am I still alive?
Yeah. So when did you leave the banking world then?
It was sort of before I met my current girlfriend. There was a brief period of being in between jobs, but sustaining a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then I worked in a secure unit when I was coming out of it, when I met Nell. I started working at a secure mental health unit.
Okay.
Which was just sort of like, I want to sort of help people now, and just sort of, turn my life around.
Yeah. That's interesting. So before you met Nell, you were leaving the bank and you got the job within mental health and helping people. Yeah. So how old were you then?
I think I was just turning 19, I think.
Right, okay. Yeah. So you were still taking drugs though at the time?
When I met Nell, I was, but then because at first we were just like, basically put it, my friend and her friend were always like, meeting each other on nights out and going back together. So we were like always the third wheel, if you will. And then and then we ended up sort of getting together, but we were never serious. And then like when I was like, actually I do like this girl, that's when I was like, right, I'm going to stop, because I know she's not about that life. I wouldn't want to bring her into it. I wouldn't want her to put up with me. Because when I was on coke, did you ever watch Phone Shop? Or,
no, I've seen it.
What's another? Peep Show? You watch Peep Show?
Seen the Peep Show?
Yeah, I was quite like, what's his name? Johnson,
right.
Alan Johnson. I was quite a lot like him, or Rick James. Have you ever seen the Dave Chappelle sketch? Yeah.
Okay, quite difficult then.
Yeah. I was all over the place, and you can never tell what sort of how I was going to be. I was just dead unpredictable,
Well, that's it. So you're still suffering with depression, 18, 19, and these like hallucinations and everything. Was that still?
No, the hallucinations from mental health sort of died down by that point. Yeah, that was more of like during school time. I was just a really.
So how would the hallucinations how would they be then? Talk me through one particular one.
It was always the same thing. I'd just see a Minotaur.
Right.
Just in like he could be in the corner or something, just like. But I'd never see him directly. He'd just be like in the corner of my eye or something, or like.
Scary,
across,
isn't it?
It was weird.
Was that like a regular thing?
Yeah, it's got regular. But then it was interesting because when there was twice when I'd done acid, both times I looked in the mirror, which they say you should never do, and both times like there was sort of a duality type thing, with my face. Like one side would be dead like almost demonic, and then the other side would just be dead normal, or like sort of a two-faced type thing, and you think about, well, Minotaur's like half human, half monster type thing. Like there's a theme going on here. So
what must have enjoyed doing that, mate, if you've done it twice. So is there any a time when you were sort of between like 14, 18, 19 where you took something, you had like an adverse effect?
No, the only time is when my mate thought it'd be funny to put MDMA in my drink.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. And because I think it was just because I wasn't expecting it, and I was like, what on earth's going on?
Yeah, what's
like,
happening?
Even though I sort of knew what was happening, but it was just like, why is it happening?
Yeah,
you know, type thing.
Confused. Yeah,
yeah.
How did you respond to that then after you'd kind of come down from
I wasn't happy.
No, but I mean that's quite a common thing you hear. You know, I know people that have done it to people, or it's happened to people. I'd be pissed off if someone done that to me. You know, it's because it changes the night completely, doesn't it? You know, for the person, and if they don't, if the person doesn't know, of course, well, you don't know how they're going to react. You know, and everything. I think, you know, if you're going to take a drug, or it should be you that wants to do that. It shouldn't be forced on you. What about yourself? Did you ever do it to anyone? Did you ever put anything in anyone's drink or anything? No?
Never,
right, okay. So, obviously, you know, 19, 20, you've got a new job, you've met your missus and everything's good. When did you stop taking drugs then? Did it just stop one day?
It was just sort of a stop, just straight away. Even though I was like, I would have classified myself as an addict, it was just sort of quite easy for me to just be like, right, okay.
Do you think that's probably because of your age as well?
Possibly, yeah. I think if I carried on, like, say, if I carried on to like my mid-20s or something, and I was trying to get off in my mid-20s, probably would have been harder, I think, because I was quite young. And,
I suppose it's probably quite easy to change at that particular age if something new. So how much of a support network was Nell then for you?
Oh yeah, she was great. I mean, we never really spoke much about it. It was just sort of like she knew I was, you know, I was no angel sort of thing. But you know, it was just sort of like I just wanted to, like, you know, be good. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Are you quite surprised that she got with you?
Yeah. I didn't deserve anyone at that point.
No.
You know?
No, I mean, because obviously, you know, to me, I've only met you sort of today, but you were a really nice guy. You know, I think you're like professional, and it's great what you're doing with the running and everything. Just couldn't ever imagine you in that sort of situation and everything. So
I think it's quite funny because I think people who knew me back then would say the same thing about me now.
Right,
but, like, I can't imagine you like even on Facebook, people are like, I can't believe you're doing all this. Yeah.
No, but fair play to me. I mean, that turnaround is something quite sort of remarkable, isn't it? Because not only have you stopped taking the drugs, you've also stopped in the world of you know, potentially pushing, selling, etc. You're now in a, you know, respectable job, and you're doing ultra running. So day job, is that a passion of yours, or is that something that pays the bills and it's okay?
At the minute, I was made redundant over COVID. I was working in fraud for like 6-7 years, and I was in insurance fraud, and then during COVID, no one was going out committing insurance fraud because no one's allowed to leave the house. So
they were all doing the bounce back loans.
The old furlough fraud. So they were like, we're going to put you on customer service, and then just while there's no claims coming through. I was like, that's brilliant. And they were like, we're going to keep you on customer service. We're taking away your position in fraud. And I was just like, nah. So and then the customer service wage just wasn't feasible for what I was used to being on, and you know, outgoings and whatnot. So I had to look for a job elsewhere. So at the minute it's just where I am currently. It's just paying the bills and that. But I'm looking for opportunities. There's quite a few that have come my way, which are exciting. But
brilliant.
We'll have to see.
In times like that, then I can imagine you're probably quite stressed.
Oh yeah, proper stressed, because as well it's like I'm in a job I'm not enjoying, and so it's like that's that added sort of pressure to get out before it becomes too like mentally draining being in a job you don't enjoy. It's not a fun time.
So obviously stressful times now. It's been quite a number of years since you, what is it now, about 12 years since you took a drug. Have you done anything in between 20 and 32?
No,
cocaine or MDMA or anything like that?
Nothing like that. No,
a little bit of weed here and there.
Yeah, it was a cake in Amsterdam. That's as rock and roll I've been since then. So
So times like losing a job is a stressful occasion. Are you not tempted at that particular point to?
No, I think I was running at this point, so I was like, just keep myself busy, occupied. I'd like go for a run, search for jobs and all that. And then,
No, that's fine. So, is there any worries or anxieties that you've got in the future that you'd ever go back to that world in terms of taking and using? Or
no, I don't think so. Now that I've got running, I have always worried like, what if like I lost the use of my legs or something? You know what I mean? I'd be like, and I probably would go through like a spate of depression. But I've also thought of like, well, what can I do
to give you passion?
There's a guy recently who I met last year, Darren Edwards is his name. He's just done 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days. and he has no use of his legs. He broke his back in a rock climbing accident.
Christ, mate, what a story that is.
Yeah, and so he had I'm not sure if it was a private plane or what, but he literally flew. He started in Antarctica, and then went to, I think, is it Spain? Well, he done Antarctica, Spain, Miami in America, somewhere, I think Mexico for South America.
Yeah.
Australia, I think he done Perth. What are the other two? You've done all seven continents.
I'll have a look at that then.
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
So you say he's not got use of his legs?
Yeah. So he had he has like a wheelchair, but it's like specially made for like all terrain type things. So
right. So he wheelchaired a marathon.
Yeah. Seven of them in 7 days.
I bet he's got some upper body strength.
Yeah.
Is he ripped? Has he got
I'd say he's good. He's well built. Yeah. So
Jesus, man, that's really good. So what's his name?
Darren Edwards.
Right. Okay. So I'll probably stick like a link at the bottom, like for YouTube and everything, so people can look at that. That's amazing. So, there was actually a friend of mine who's quite a keen runner. I think he does sort of 6 or 7 marathons a year.
Yeah.
He's got a friend. I think he's early 50s. And in 2022, he ran a marathon every single day, 365 days of the year, every single day. So I'll send you his information as well. You can check it out. But I've not got the information on the timings that he was doing. He had an injury in like August of last year.
Right.
So I think that set his time back about half an hour, 45 minutes from that point. But if someone had said to me, a marathon a day, every single day of the year, it's impossible.
It's insane.
It's impossible. Clearly, it's not, is it? So, and I mean, that's potentially something that you'd probably be capable of. You've definitely probably got the fitness for it. I think it's just more the mental side.
It's mental aspect. Getting out of bed knowing you have to do it again, and obviously, like, you got to take such good care of your body as well, because you're gonna get injuries, you know, and stuff like that. So it's that's. So
when you say take care of your body, then what do you do what do you do to keep your body?
I do a lot of strength and conditioning, lots of yoga, which I thought I'd never do. Like,
well, stretching's meant to be massively important. Isn't it?
Hugely. So do a lot of that. And just diet as well and everything. Like, obviously I have days where the other day I had half a tub of Ben and Jerry's and an entire pizza to myself. I won't pretend like I had a perfect diet. And
I don't think it has to be a perfect diet.
No, you got to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, of course,
absolutely.
So what's the biggest achievement in your running career? So 29 you started running. Doing a half marathon, was it?
Yeah, done a half marathon. That was pretty huge at the time, because like I said, I only ran like 6 runs at the time, and then but now, last year I've done the GB Ultras Grand Slam, which was 5 of their 50-mile marathons.
So say that again, 5
50-mile races.
Really?
Yeah. There was some that were closer to the others. So I think there was one that was like 2 weeks apart. And there was one that was like 4 weeks apart, and then there was a couple. I think there was one that was like 8 weeks apart, sort of thing. So
what's the most in terms of mileage that you've run in a day?
100 kilometers so far. Yeah.
What's that in miles then? About 60 odd, is it? 70?
I'm trying to work out now. So 50 miles is 82.
So we're probably talking about 60 hours, 60 to 62, something like that. Yeah. 62 miles. And how long did that take for you then?
I think it took quite a while. It was mountainous, 17 hours, I think it was. Yeah.
Jesus, mate. It's just crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Do you listen to David Goggins? Have you looked?
Yeah, I'm rereading his first book now, because I've recently bought his newest book, and I thought I'm going to reread the first one before I go and read.
And do you get much from that? Do you get much motivation from reading that at all?
Yeah. Especially like his upbringing, because he should have been dead or
exactly,
whatever.
Taking drugs, just living on the streets or something.
He got dealt a really shit hand at life. So and just his whole like attitude of just keep going. Like at the minute I've not had a rest day for 400 and something days now. You haven't? Yeah. Just sort of based on him, and there's a lad who I met at a 30-mile race. I forgot his name now. I feel terrible. He's from Liverpool, but he's had no rest days now for like 900 and something odd days. Wow. And it's sort of like days where I think my body needs a rest. That will be like a yoga day. Just
Yeah, of
or
course.
like
it's still quite active. I mean, how long does the yoga session take then?
Anything like some days I'll only do like half an hour, but sometimes I'll do like an hour.
Yeah.
Or if I just want to concentrate on one like muscle, I'll just do like 10-20 minutes on it, just that one muscle.
So how did you get into the yoga? Is there anyone that you follow for that?
Originally, it was. Do you ever get into like wrestling when you were a kid?
Unofficially in my mate's bedroom, yeah.
So there's a wrestler called Diamond Dallas Page who brought out his own range of yoga, and like, because at first I thought yoga, what, are you serious? But then I saw his bit of yoga and I thought, oh, okay, maybe there's more to it. And then I was looking it up, and then there's like yoga for runners and stuff like that. So I was like doing them, and then obviously I got into David Goggins, and he does like a lot of it as well. He's like 2 hours of stretching a day or something like that. So I'm not that extreme, but yeah. So it was sort of that when I sort of realised, oh no, it is important. Like, you know, it's like, 'cause I'm bad for stretching after a run. I barely stretch after a run.
No. Do you stretch before a run or not?
No, I do like warm ups. So I do like high kicks and stuff like that, just to sort of warm the legs up a bit. But I won't stretch because I just.
So you said you're running tomorrow. Is it a 20 miles tomorrow?
Yeah, 20 miles tomorrow. Yeah.
So if I had 20 miles to run tomorrow, in my current shape, I'd be very worried about that. Okay, I'd be shitting myself now. For you, that's obviously quite standard now. I suspect it's not something that you get anxious about.
No,
or worry about or anything.
No, not anymore. No.
So how do you prepare for a run like that now, as opposed to preparing for a run like that previously?
So I just have something good to eat the night before.
Yeah.
And then I'll take a bag with me, which will have like soft flasks on here, and then I'll have some food with me. I never underestimate a run. I'll always have like a first aid kit in my bag.
Yeah, that's good.
An emergency bivvy bag. Because I mean, it might just not be me. I might come across someone who's been injured in some way or whatever.
Yeah, true. Actually,
so as well, just like waterproof clothing as well, because I'm going to be out for like a while, you know.
Yeah.
So
how long would you expect 20 miles to take you then?
Depends. Tomorrow I'll be going at quite an easy pace.
Yes.
So I'll probably say like 3.5 to 4 hours maybe.
You taking Nell with you?
Yeah, she's going to cycle along with
Really?
me. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Do you fancy running now? So that. But even cycling 20 miles is a workout. You know, it's good, isn't it? So, what else do you do then around the running? Is there any other type of fitness that you do, like hiking or?
Yeah, I do a lot of hiking. Like, luckily, like living in Chester, we have Snowdonia right on our doorstep. Yeah. So I do a lot of hiking around there.
I've done Snowdon once. I decided to do it on a Friday. Well, the Friday came and I said I'm going to do it this weekend. So zero training. I think I was about 20 stone as well at that point, and I just rang a mate of mine from school and I said, I'm going to do Snowdon on Sunday. Do you fancy it? And he was like, yeah, you know, because he does quite a lot of walking anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, I spent the next 2 days eating well, like it was going to make a difference. And he didn't. The night before, he had, I think it was like 8 pints and a kebab.
Yeah.
And he absolutely smashed me.
Yeah.
But no, when we got to the top of Snowdon, it was such a fluke, mate, to be honest with you. We've done the Lemberris, is that how you pronounce it? Lemberris path, Clanberris, yeah. It's meant to be the easiest path. I'd fucking hate to know the hardest one. But we kind of got to the top and it was like the clearest day you could imagine. Yeah. And the views genuinely just breathtaking.
Amazing, aren't they? Yeah. When you get a clear day. Yeah. It's quite rare to get a clear day up there as well.
And everyone says that, so it was obviously meant to be, wasn't it? But that was, I think it was like 6 hours or something. It took us from sort of start to finish, taking away the half an hour that we spent at the top. But it's incredible, and I think that's something for me I want to start getting back into, you know. I was in the Navy for like 4 years between like 09 and 13, so there was a lot of running that used to take place then as well. I weren't really into kind of like resistance training at that point. Don't think there was a lot of research in regard to how good resistance training is for you then as what there is now. You know, you get a lot of women that do it now as well, don't you, and everything. But I was just sort of like keen into running. I think the most I ever ran is probably like a half marathon, like 30 miles. But I do like regular kind of like 5 miles, 6 mile. So at them times, I remember thinking, this isn't my day. Do you know, you just start and you get your first mile and a half, and you think, fuck, this isn't my day. My breathing's not right.
Yeah.
You know, my right quad is just not feeling right. My heels aren't feeling right. I don't feel comfortable. You'll get that, won't you?
Yeah. Like yesterday, I ran 13 miles, and like my left calf was just like, nah, I'm gonna add another 5 kilos onto this leg. So I did feel like my legs were just heavy, and I just went,
How'd you get through it?
Just keep going.
Just keep going.
Yeah, it's just like I just think like, I could stop and walk, but then if I walk, it's going to take me long to get home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I could run slowly and like make it easier, or I could run faster and make it harder. But if I walk, it's going to take me hours to get home. So,
do you think it's all in the mind, that sort of thing?
They say technically, because all the pain is in your brain, in the sense of the nerves. So technically, it is in your head, but I think there's a barrier that you just think just push through it. It's not going to be forever.
No.
The pain you're feeling is going to be gone.
Yeah.
When you finish. Or...
Have you ever been injured on a run?
Yeah, I broke my toe once on a
How did you manage that?
I fell off a cliff.
Did you?
Yeah, I was doing I was doing the GB Ultras Snowdon 50, and
so is that running up Snowdon?
Yeah, so we'd done a few mountains. I'd done Snowdon. We're coming up to back the Glidders, Glidderval and Glidderfach, and then I was coming down Devil's Kitchen up towards Penny Wyn, and so we're coming down to go to the bottom before we got Penny Wyn, and there was like a sharp right turn, and then you carry on. So I'd done the sharp right turn, and then instead of turning left to carry on going down, I just kept going. I went off this cliff, and it was I'd say probably about an 8-foot drop, and I probably would have done less damage if I just went. Yeah. But instead, I tried to save myself, turn around, grab the ledge, and my toes went smack into the side of the cliff face, and then...
Quite lucky just to break a toe, really.
Yeah. And then, I let out the biggest yelp I think I've ever. And then there was a guy who was sort of running with, he was behind me, he helped me up, and then like I just knew something was right, and I was trying to get down, and I was just like, fuck. Yeah.
So did you carry on running then?
I ran to the bottom. Admittedly, I was crying all the way down because 1, I was in a lot of pain. 2, I knew my race was over.
Yeah. That you'd been preparing for how long?
Yeah, for quite a while. I think it was only my 3rd ultramarathon I'd done, so it was still quite new to the to the distance, long distances. Yeah. But luckily there was an aid station at the bottom, and then I got down, and then I was just like, I'm done. Are you sure? And I took my shoe off. They're like, yeah, you're done. They're like, get your shoe back on, because you're not gonna be able to get it back on if it keeps, because it's going to swell. And then,
so was you out of the game after that?
I had to call it quits, and hand in my tracker, because you get a tracker on all your races. And then it's cool now. So come and get me.
And how long was you not training for then?
For that one,
so like afterwards.
Oh, after that. So I was out for about 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I've done a few.
It's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah. I've done a bit of strength and all that, and cycling, because you don't need to do cycling, but but it was still like, I just missed running. Yeah, it was a nightmare, especially when I'd see other runners out, because I like where I live, that you see a lot of runners up and down where we live, and I was seeing them outside, and I was like, it went off.
Just then it was all grey and you're crying out your window, watching them run past.
Yeah.
So what's next for yourself then, Christian? What's the next big challenge that you're gearing up for?
So I've got a UTS 100 in May, which is Ultra Trail Snowdonia. So that's 100 kilometres, and then that's sort of a build up for, I'm doing a 100-mile race in, I think it's in August, GB Ultras Scotland 100. Yeah. Is
that in a day?
It'll hopefully be in a day. Yeah, they give you, I think there's a cut-off time of 40 hours, I think it is.
Right, okay.
It's quite generous times. So that's on the Southern Upland Way in Scotland.
Okay. So what's the terrain?
For that one, it's going to be quite boggy, quite mixed terrain. Yeah. There's a few Munros you cut off, you take off on the way. So I volunteered because I do a lot of work with GB Ultras. I'm an ambassador for them. Yeah.
That's perfect.
So I worked one of their races for the Scotland 50-100, and the weather was that bad we had to call it. Like at mile, the 50 milers got to finish, the 100 milers didn't. We had to be like, nah.
It's What was the weather? Was it just
it was
rain?
it was the wind. It was raining sideways. It was like hailing.
Yeah.
It was like the temperatures were like silly low. And
Jesus, mate, just everything.
Yeah, the last week I was at a checkpoint which was like middle of nowhere, and there was we had to wait for the last person for the 100 miler, and like bless her, like I mean she's hard. She'd done like the Marathon des Sables, which is one of the hardest races in the world. You know, she wasn't, you know, but she came in and she was just like battered, like you could just tell, like. But she wanted to carry on. We had to say no, we're pulling everyone out. And she was just like, But it is like that. When I pulled out of the Snowdon race breaking my toe, I felt like I went through all the stages of grief. You know, I was like anger, denial, you know, acceptance, all that. Because at first I was like, you know, crying a bit because I was just like, I'm injured, I'm pissed off, and then like the denial came in. I was like, no, I can get back up, and then then
because you're not just going to go for a run around the block, you know, this is something that's quite big. You're precious about your time. You're an ambassador for GB Ultras as well. So talk to me about GB Ultras then. So how big are they in the ultra scene? Are they like the
I mean there's a lot of companies out there. The GB Ultra is quite local to where I am. They're based in Warrington, so they do the Chester 15-100, which is how I got introduced to them, because I wanted to do up my distance, and I saw Chester 50 mile. Brilliant. So that's how I got into them first, and then they're just a great company. My first impression of them was like well organised. The checkpoints are amazing. The support's great. You know, you couldn't ask for anything more. Like,
is that as a runner?
Yeah. As a runner, like I've come from a completely unbiased, opinion. Because at the time, like it was just, I'm going to do this race, and I'll probably do another from another company, and then But yeah, I was just like, these guys are brilliant. Like just straight off the bat, I was just like, you know.
And you talk about checkpoints and everything. So what you find in life, you're telling about ultra running now. So I've got an image in my mind of what that is. But when you get involved in these things, there's always more to it than just running. Isn't there? So obviously the checkpoints, I didn't even think about that. So what makes a good checkpoint? Because you mentioned food and everything. I just find it interesting.
So it's especially the GB Ultras ones are well stocked on everything. So there'll be like stuff like, you know, if you're a vegan or vegetarian, and then if you're not, you know, and stuff like that. There'll be like savoury, sweet. You know, they'll have like big things of like water, or they have like electrolyte mixes and stuff.
Well, that's probably important, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of time the people who volunteer for races are runners themselves, so they know, they'll see you coming in, they'll know what you need, sort of thing. They'll be like, right, give me a bottle, I'll fill that up for you and stuff. What's in this? Is it water, electrolyte?
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And are they getting paid for that? Are they volunteers?
No, volunteers. You usually get event credits. So say if you do like a few hours, you'll get, you know, the next race off for free.
That's good then, isn't it? So you can almost like you get a race for free by volunteering. So you volunteer for races as well. Yeah.
So I mean, it's hard graft. Don't get me wrong. Like you'll be doing like a 10-hour day. Sometimes 12. You know, I've done 15-hour shifts with them before. You know, and it's hard graft. You got to, you know, no matter what the weather's like or anything.
When I think when it's your passion, obviously you're not getting paid for it, but I bet you just love being around it. Don't
you?
Yeah.
That's one thing I've said as well. Come back to if I couldn't run again, like that's why I'd just be doing that full time. You know, just working races and
still being around.
Atmosphere
and everything.
Buzz off it.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept though, isn't it, in terms of how the mind works? Though, because you now find something that you love. And there's always that what if, isn't there? Human beings. What if you actually lost? You know, and I think anyone can relate to that in any walk of life that they do. You know, and what would you do in that scenario, do you think, then? What would be your sport? Have you ever thought about that? Would you go into like rowing or something? Would you find a new passion? Or
well, I do like rowing. I've got potentially some ocean rowing expeditions planned.
Right. Really?
It's just around the Outer Hebrides Islands in Scotland. So that's why I've got a rowing machine in my house, just because and I've got the River Dee like right next to me, which I like to get out for a couple of hours as well.
So the Outer Hebrides, I can imagine that's probably quite.
It's going to be choppy.
To say the least. Actually, brilliant. Okay, so in terms of rowing, what's the most you've done in terms of mileage there then?
Not as far as I should be doing at the minute. Probably about 10 miles. But like for the rowing expedition, I've been looking at you're going to be doing like 3 hours on, 3 hours off. So it's not like a typical rowing boat. We have like bits you can sleep in either
Really?
side. So
Yeah.
you'll have 6 people rowing, and then there'll be 3 people on one side kipping, 3 people on the other side,
swap
and then you
over.
swap every 3 hours. And
They don't look that big, do they? To be honest, but
yeah, oh no, these boats are
These are
quite
different.
big. Yeah, they're like
What are they
solar
called then?
powers. I don't know the best way to describe them or what they're called actually.
send it me later.
Yeah.
Let me know, but I'll check that out. That's good.
Yeah.
So in terms of your week, then, how do you plan your week out? Then have you got like a schedule in terms of training?
Not strictly, no. I'm quite what's the word?
Loose.
Yeah.
I think you just probably know what's needed to
Yeah.
happen. Really.
So like, there's days where I think, my legs probably wouldn't appreciate a run today. Let's cycle instead, or let's do this. So I just sort of go off the cuff, really. Yeah.
So how much in terms of like hours would you dedicate to training in a week?
On
average.
Again, it just comes to like, there'll be like one day, like, so it'll be after work, I might run a half marathon, and then the next day I'll run 3 miles, or so, and then the weekends are usually say for longer runs.
Yeah, of course. And how does that affect your relationship then with your partner? Is there any issues there because you're spending so much time running, or is she understanding of that? Or
The time apart, no, she's great. She's really supportive. Because I've got epilepsy, so I can't drive.
Really?
Yeah,
Right,
so
Jesus.
so there's a lot of races that I probably wouldn't be able to get to unless she takes me, which she has. And I've also relied on other people, like there's other runners that have been like, well, I'm doing that race, I'll come with you, so you can jump in with me, or stuff like that. So.
Yeah. So how long have you been epileptic for then?
On and off since I was a baby.
Really?
Yeah. So the first one that I remember, I was in nursery, and then I had one probably about a year ago now. But
how does that affect your mental health now then?
It's quite what's the word? Isolating.
Yeah.
Because like I'd like to just be able to go and drive anywhere I want, and then it's like, I can't, or or there's jobs that I'd like to have gone for previously, and it's like driver license
required.
Needed. Yeah, and it's damn it,
Yeah. And there's no getting out of that either, is there?
No.
Do you still have seizures now? Or?
I've not. They're not as bad as they used to be. So when I was a kid, it used to be full on floor. I think they're called grand miles or something like that. But now it's like absences, so it would just look like I'm daydreaming.
Yeah.
But I know when they're coming on, like when you can taste the smell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I can sort of get that taste of like Parma violets, but not the sweet, but like sort of the that smell of them. So I get that, and I think, right, I'm gonna see it in a minute. Yeah. So I'll just sort of like just make sure I'm sat down.
Do you not think so? Was it quite embarrassing as a kid? Would you say? If you were to do it in school, you can imagine.
Yeah, I only remember having one public, like in school when I was in nursery, and I think like kids don't really care at that sort of age.
No,
I went through. I stopped having them when I was about 10, and I didn't have them again until like my early 20s. So I went through a gap of not having it for a bit, and then like I just remember one day just really like spacing out. I thought, what the hell was that? That was weird.
So do you think that had an effect on you taking drugs later on in your life? Do you think that was a reason for it?
It possibly. Yeah. I've not ruled it out.
Yeah.
Obviously, I lied to the doctors when they said he'd taken them. No, of course not.
Definitely not.
So I mean, it is an absolute possibility that is sort of like it's scrambled my brain. So it's been like later on. It's like had a delayed effect maybe, because obviously there were a few years between me being drug free and me becoming epileptic again. So
it can happen through stress as well. The fits and the seizures. So I know someone quite recently that's had that.
Yeah.
And just literally over like a 4-month period having seizures 2-3 times a week.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and they've just stopped now. So hopefully that won't come back. I think it's related to stress and everything. But so obviously you still drinking alcohol as well. That's still part of your life.
Yeah, no, I have a good relationship with drink. Like even if I'm on the night out, I know when to stop.
That's like me.
Yeah.
Everyone knows me as like the back door.
Houdini.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You'll see me and then I'm gone.
That's it.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like if I say I'm going, everyone, I'll just have another one or anything like that. And it's so long-winded. Even because I won't have another one. Like if someone says I'll have another one, I won't.
Yeah.
But it's just that whole
rigmarole is sitting there. Once you've made your mind up and it's ready to go, it's ready to go. So, how often would you say you're drinking a week? Like,
A couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sessions or just a
just one, after work or after a run. Yeah. I'll have a beer after a run sometimes.
That's it. I mean, obviously going into this podcast, that's what we're discussing, like addiction, life, alcohol, mental health, drugs, and like overeating and everything. I think everyone's got their poison, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or everyone's had their poison, and I'm like you. Luckily, like for me, it's not alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I don't drink sometimes to excess. I probably do, but that's in terms of like recreational and fun. But as I get older now, with the same age, I'm 32. I am getting to the point where I'm not saying I want to stop completely. But I just feel like it's a waste of time, especially when you drink to excess and then you just write the next day off. Let's imagine last night if I did drink too much and I had a session, then I probably won't be sat here now. And it's like, it stops you from growing as a person, I feel. But like you say, if you can control it,
that's it. It's good. Like I did go for a bit where sort of when we first moved away and everything, I sort of moved from just sort of drugs to just drinking quite excessively. Like I used to go through a few bottles of Jack Daniels. Right. I'd go through one within a couple of days.
Really?
And then I think my weight gain as well before I started running was from wine.
Right. Okay.
I got into a big wine phase.
Really?
Yeah.
White, red, rosé, all.
Mainly red.
Red,
yeah. But yeah, I noticed even now, like if we've got a few bottles for Christmas of like my parents and that, and then like I noticed like just after a few glasses, the punch comes on my belly. Like it just.
I've recently got into red wine just through like Christmas. Went to like a restaurant and one of the lads was like, give it a go, and I was like, it's not for me. He was like, give it a go, and I was like, Jesus. So I had a glass and I thought it's quite nice actually.
Yeah.
I mean, weirdly enough, a couple of nights ago, I googled it, and it's about 600, 700 calories in a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So it made that much of a difference for you, did it?
Yeah. I mean, I like your I like getting good bottles of wine now. I used to just go and just get a bottle of red, but like now I'll get like for the last 2 Christmases now, it's got me like a bottle of wine that's like 40 quid a pop. But it's like nice like
proper stuff.
No sulfites and all that sort of stuff. But no, cool. I'm more beer these days. Like
lager.
More like pale ales and stuff like that. Cool. Like I'm ambassador for a beer brand myself now for Ravenhill Brewery. So
nice, mate. Yeah, so let's talk about Ravenhill Brewery then. So how did you become an ambassador for those guys then?
So I was an ambassador for a now defunct clothing brand. And we went away on like on a trip around Snowdonia, and he came along to just sort of came on a hike with us. His name's Mark, and he came on a hike with us, then done sort of like a beer tasting with us. So I got to know him through that. And then he got to a point where he was like, well, I'm going to bring some ambassadors on board. Do you want to come on board? I was like, absolutely. I like the beers. I like you. Let's do it. So and he brings out some really decent beers. Like I'm quite picky. I'm not just. I won't settle for everything. I'm not one of them where I'll just drink whatever's going. Like I'm quite picky. So
I think generally like IPA drinkers are though, aren't they? They've got the favourites and
but then some IPA can taste like absolute death.
Do you drink Guinness? You into Guinness?
Love Guinness.
You had drank it in Dublin.
Been there, that's how I got into it. Like I had a few pints of it here and just thought it's a bit much, and then I went to Dublin. Obviously, I can't go to Dublin without getting it. So like, this is completely different. What is going on? And then I went
smoother, isn't it?
Yeah, and I drank so much, like, and I didn't feel drunk. I'm like, is there any alcohol in this glass? I just drank so much of it, and
I've been 3 times now. First time was like a family thing, so I took my mum over. Second time was with the lads. Third time was with the missus, and for my birthday, just in October. And in the middle occasion, I went with the lads. We were out all day on a Saturday, and I'm honestly, mate, there's no between 12 o'clock in the day and 2 in the morning. The rate we were drinking, easily 20 pints. And I'm not, I'm not a drinker like that. That's not something I do on a regular basis. I am genuinely. I was first in bed last night, but it's easily 20 pints, probably more. You know, and I was obviously very bad the next day, but not as bad as what you'd expect. So It is, I suppose, it is a special kind of drink, mate, isn't
Yeah.
it? But it's all fun and games. So, in terms of your socials, then, with you being an ambassador, it's probably quite important for you to grow your following, I presume.
Yeah.
Is that something that you actively do, or?
It's more just like I just focus on more on like, you know, what I'm doing with part of my training and stuff like that. Obviously, like I'll always promote the brands I'm ambassadors for, always. Yeah. But I'll only do it for brands that I love, I'm passionate about. Yeah, like GB Ultras. I classify the directors as my friends now. You know what I mean? So
that's good.
Same with Ravenhill, classify Mark as a friend.
Yeah.
So for them. But it is more just it's like an accountability. My Instagram. Yeah. It's more like, because I have thought, if I didn't have Strava and I didn't have Instagram, would I still be running now?
No.
Probably not.
No.
I'm a clout chaser.
Yeah.
it's an addiction, you know. It's that am I addicted to running, or am I addicted to the attention I get on social media?
But at least you're honest.
It's probably
though,
both.
Yeah.
It's probably
There's
both.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Though, I don't think, mate.
I'm not one of them that's like, oh, follow for follow, or, you know, buying followers or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm not chasing followers, but I approve, you know.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Like at the minute, I think I'm on like 4,600, and now I'm at the point where it's like, I want 5,000.
Yeah, it's good though, and it's all organic as well. Like you're saying, to get that amount of followers, it's not easy.
No,
that's all, you know. So you know, good luck with that.
Yeah, I think as well, like especially with running, running's quite egotistical. Yeah. It is like, look at me, look how fast I can run, look how far I can run. Yeah. And I think if you're just real about it, like. Like there was one day where I was like, I just shit myself on a run. Yeah. And people love that. They're like, oh, you done a Paula Radcliffe, and you know, it's like, you know,
that happened as well.
It did, yeah. And turns out it was because I had COVID. I just didn't realise.
Right. Okay.
It was,
Is that an excuse?
Yeah, that's my excuse. I'm sticking to it.
So did you carry on running?
Nah, I went home. Yeah.
Did you run home?
I think I ran. I ran a little bit and then realised, no, I'm going to do it again. Yeah. Just go home. So yeah.
What did you say now? Just laughing.
Yeah.
Okay, so last sort of question, mate, before we wrap it up for you. So, you've done some incredible things in terms of running and mileage and everything. What's the goal that you've got in your head that you want to do that scares the shit out of you? You know, is there something there that you want to build up to and get to? Yeah, and it does scare you now, but you know one day you'll achieve it.
Yeah, in what year are we on? 2024, I'm signed up for Dragonback Race,
Dragonback Race. Yeah, what's that?
Which is a 215-mile race from Conway to Cardiff, and you basically hit every mountain along the way. It's coming down like the spine of Wales. It's a 6-day race.
Wow.
It's like, I think like 18% of people finish it.
18%?
Yeah.
So are you running up and down mountains as well?
Yeah. Wow. So like I worked it this year. This year's just gone, so 2022. I worked it to get the event credits. Yeah. That was like 10 days of hard graft. Even though the race is only 6 days, you work for 10. Yeah. And you got to work the entirety of it. You can't And it's a hard graft. I think day one's the hardest one, which I've already kind of recce'd, so that I'm fine with that. But I didn't do it under a time scale because you got to get there within a certain time. So, and it's hard as well because if you take your time and you're like one of the guys in the back of the pack, you've got to get out first in the morning. So obviously your elapsed time is you might time out after some bit. So it's you got to do quite well because otherwise you're gonna have to get up early in the morning. You have less time to rest and crack on. So I've seen some like runners that I know are better runners than me like last year, and they just didn't make it.
And what do you think the reason for not making it is then? Just purely the time restraints?
Time, your body just not wanting to carry on. It could be all sorts. Like I think was it 2021 was like it was dead hot, like loads of people just dehydrated.
Really? What month is it in then?
September.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so, and then I think 2021, there was a guy I know, Ben, who done it, amazing runner. Second day he rolled his ankle, and then halfway through third day he was just like, nah, I can't do this, and he had to pull out. So
obviously you're going into this race with the aim to be part of the 18% that finish it.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and fingers crossed, you know, I've got confidence in you that you'll 100% do that. Is there any anxieties that you won't, and what are them anxieties, I suppose? Or?
Yeah, I mean, there's an anxiety of, if I don't do it, am I going to want to just come back and do it again, put my body through all that again? Yeah. But I'm not naive, you know, I know there's a possibility of not finishing. The likelihood of me not finishing is quite high.
Yeah.
Whether that's me just mentally just not wanting to carry on, my body not wanting to carry on, I get timed out, I get injured, you know, I get disqualified for losing a bit of mandatory kit, which is a possibility. Or I could even get lost. And just because, you know, there's a lot of map reading involved. Yeah.
How many people will enter that race?
There's a lot. I can't remember how many exactly.
Are we talking like hundreds or is it like
probably
thousands?
Probably about 500 to 800, I think. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, and then there's also the GB Ultras race across Scotland, which is same distance. I think it's 215 miles, but it's not as like mountainous.
Yeah.
But it's so like with the Dragon's Back race, you have day 1 and day 2. So you'll go from campsite to campsite, whereas the GB Ultras race across Scotland, you've just got 100 hours to finish.
Really?
Like you just sleep where you can, sort of thing. Really? You know, just rest where you can.
So where would that be then?
The race across Scotland's on the Southern Upland Way, so it's the same way I'll be doing a 100 miler. So I'll be doing a 100 miler just sort of as a, you know, get used to the terrain, see what I've got in store for me. Yeah. Even though it's not even half the distance, it's still, you know.
Well, I think the terrain changes everything, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like I'm quite comfortable in like around Snowdonia and that. Like, you know, there's parts where when I've done other races, especially in more mountainous areas, where people are hiking, and I'm running. You know, just running the ups. Even though usually I tend to hike the ups, but say like if someone's running the ups, a lot of time my hiking will be faster than their running up. So if I do run up, I tend to do all right. But then
don't you find coming down the mountain just as tough though?
Oh, I'm shit at coming down. Yeah. That's where people tend to overtake me is coming down, because I'm not sure if I'm just a wimp or my legs just don't like going down. But when I've done what's called the Pennine Way, Pennine Barrier Ultras, GB Ultras race. Well, it's 50 miles. So you start in Malham Cove, and then it's a half marathon to the first mountain of the three Yorkshire Peaks. Yeah. And then you do that, which is like 26 miles, and another half marathon coming back.
Right.
But there was times where I was overtaking people on all the ups. Yeah. And then on the downs, they were like flying down like mountain goats. But I just
it's crazy, isn't it? Even walking when I went up Snowdon, I thought I can't wait to go back, just get down this now. Yeah. Coming down's going to be so much easier, but mate, it was actually worse.
Yeah, you tend to feel it in like your quads and that.
Quads, and then I think like my calves were just giving up. Yeah. Just like jelly, to be honest with you. And then anyone that's probably going to be watching this and wants to get into ultra running, what would be your advice to them, and probably not do it?
No, absolutely get into it. Get a marathon or two under your belt. First. Get used to just being on your feet for a long time. They're not race. I mean, there are some people who run it ridiculously fast. But I think it is more just training, just be on your feet for a long time. Get used to nutrition, like get used to eating while on the move. Figure out what your body likes, what your body doesn't like, all that sort of thing. It's quite a complex thing to get into. It is more than just running for a long time. It is, finding what your body does and doesn't like, and
Cool, mate.
But it's definitely worth getting into. Like if you like running, or even if it's just a challenge. I know there's people who've like just done it for charity, done 50 miles just to do something that's
Do you do much for charity yourself?
I did at the beginning, I done my first half marathon. I done for Veterans for Wildlife.
Brilliant.
So it's a charity that take veterans out to help train rangers on wildlife parks around Africa to protect them against poachers and stuff.
Brilliant.
They're a really good charity. Yeah. But and then
a bit different as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. So I raised quite a bit for them, and then I've kind of felt like after I raised loads of money for doing a half marathon, but now half marathons are just runs that I'll do after work,
it's crazy.
I'd feel a bit like cheeky saying,
cheeky to do that.
I'm raising money for this, so you give me money. Like, no, what?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go for a run on lunch. So
Yeah.
So, cool. And then for people that are listening that want to follow your journey, what's the best way to do that, and what's your tag on Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram. Yeah, it's Christian on the run, but it's underscores between each letter. So Christian underscore on the run.
Perfect.
So yeah.
And do you document everything on there then? Yeah. So preparation for a run.
Yeah. I do everything from like what I'm eating nutritionally, equipment that I'm using. Routes that I'm running, anything and everything. Like, because a lot of it is just helping other people as well. I'm not an expert, and I'm not a pro or anything like that. But if I can help someone in some way, like I've had people saying, "Oh, what's that head torch you got? It seems really good," and I'll point them in the direction and stuff.
Brilliant, mate.
So,
Happy days. Well, thank you, mate. Okay,
thank you
been
for
great
having
to meet you.